Hello everybody, welcome back. It was a while since I did last tutorial about the LP2. And for today's tutorial, it's more a tutorial with the LP2 because I decided I would like mainly to talk today about my MIDI control implementation for the LP2 and connected to that also my kind of like my philosophy, how I use and implement my gear for my live setups. For me, playing live means to really be able to play, and so with the years and the experience, I had to learn that less is more, and the less gear you have on stage, and the more simple you can use that gear, the better is then your performance. You have a better flow, and you are really controlling the stuff you are doing from the playing, from the gear part, etc., etc. And so you can concentrate more on what you are doing, and you fight less with the control of the gear. Also, for example, over the years my pedal boards get smaller, up to now that I have this small setup or even a smaller one in case I want to have something really more compact and travel friendly. I mean, for example, all my ambient setup is so that to go to the venue I can load everything in my bags, and then I take the bike and I ride to the venue, just to give you an idea how compact it is actually. And now to the MIDI part. Actually, it was already since a while that I wanted to take my MIDI controller, look in detail the function I had programmed on it, and take a look, rearrange things, reprogram stuff, etc., etc. And then lately a few things happened that pushed me to make this process. For example, a while ago I was away a few weeks abroad for different reasons, and didn't have my guitar with me and the looper, so when I came back I kind of like to quickly refresh my memory how to use everything. And this is also a point that pushed me to rearrange and rethink my MIDI setup. And also I'm using this Morningstar and C3, and lately Morningstar released a new firmware, so with that I also add a new set of features which were not available before, and so I had to, and I'm still learning and checking out what's new and how can I possibly use to make my MIDI controller work better and flawlessly when I'm playing live. Of course, I try to simplify everything, but in case I do a studio session, of course, there it's very likely impossible often that I go overboard. I have a huge chain of pedals on the ground, etc., etc. But it's a studio situation, so let's say I can afford to use more gear. Whereas for the live, I try to simplify everything if possible. So, LP2 and MIDI setup. Now, the LP2, it's quite easy peasy business because I have these two foot switches for Effect 1 and Effect 2, which, as you know, you can also, while playing, you can go into the configuration menu and change the functions with that these are controlling. But for my peace of mind and simplification, I set the setup on the LP2 is always like this. Effect 1 is the switch to select track 1 or track 2, while Effect 2 is there for the reverse, so that with Effect 2 I can turn on and off the reverse of the selected track, and that stay like that always. I never during a live concert I never touch the configuration menu, because all the rest is controlled by the MIDI controller. So I don't touch anything else on the LP2. MIDI controller, I have this Morningstar. Previously I was using which was also a good unit, the MIDI Baby 3, which is a bit more compact, also kind of like same setup with 3 foot switches, less possibility, because here you have all you can do, it's only these 3 foot switches, and while the MIDI Baby has many banks, so sorry, the MC3 has more banks available which I can switch and select, scroll through, so I have more options. But anyhow, MIDI Baby is also cool. If I want something more slicky and not so featurefully, I can still go with that one, so it's still a good option. But now back to the Morningstar. How do I use the Morningstar? Okay, first, cool thing of these new MIDI controllers, they are very powerful, and for each foot switch I can assign different function and actions, or let's say function, depending on the action how I use the foot switch. And normally I try also here to simplify and to have limitation, in the sense that normally I have per foot switch functions which is activated by pressing the foot switch, and a secondary function which is activated by holding the foot switch. And these already, for me, it's more than enough, because I could do even more stuff like double tapping, whatever, etc, etc, but for my well-being I decided to stick only to those 2, because then I know what each foot switch is doing, and I can really have stuff under control, and also avoid mistakes. Mistakes always happen, but whatever. Then, second thing, Morningstar, very cool. As many already know, 3 foot switches in one bank, but if I press A and B, I go in the same bank to page 2, where there I have another set of 3 functions. Very cool, but quite soon when I got the unit, I decided to skip this page 1, page 2 thingy, mostly for these 2 switches are so far away and don't have so big foot, so it's actually, I found it a bit uncomfortable to switch pages in the same bank, and maybe I should get some foot switch topper to have a bigger switch area, so then it would be simpler to switch the page. But anyhow, I decided to keep the page and only stick to the bank, so the first page of the bank. And now it's cool because I can scroll through the bank while pressing A and B or B and C, and this for me it's more simple and quick to do. It's really a more comfortable movement as well, so I stick to that. And so with this concept I started to program the controller. Now for to rearrange and rethink my MIDI setup, what I did was, first of all, take a piece of paper, make some notes, and what I did first was writing down what I had on the controller, which bank, where are the functions, etc, etc, so that I could visualize my setup and see where is what, and start to rethink and rearrange the function I was using. I have quite a precise system how I set the banks. So bank 1, and for this I have this other schema, which is kind of like a pyramid. So the center of it is bank 1. Bank 1, it's my main bank, the one I use most of the time. with my main function, which I really need on the fly. And then from that starting point, which is bank 1, I go to the neighbor banks, so bank 2 and bank 30. This is the second level, where are the secondary function I need for my live setup, functions and things I need often, but not so often as bank 1, so I can quickly switch from one bank to the other and quickly access to these. And then I have a third stage, which are bank 29, bank 3, which are the one most far away from bank 1. And there I have the less used function, but function which could possibly be useful in any situation. So by using this pyramid system, I can quickly go through the banks and open the bank I need at that given moment with the function I need. Also, the system is done like this, that bank 2 and 3 are the banks which I use for my manipulation and effects that I apply to a chosen loop. And if I go backwards to 30 and 29, these are more the, let's say, the utility banks, the banks which I have function to, in general, manage my loops. For example, play all and stop all, fade or loop, delete everything in case I need to reset everything, double, etc., etc. Okay, so now we do a bit of noise as well. Okay, first thing, we start from my start of everything, bank 1. Bank 1, first let's do a quick loop. Sorry, I had those wheel kicked in. Okay, good. This is our first loop. Okay, first thing on the far left side, I have my feedback foot switch. Feedbacks work like this, that each time I press the button, I lower by 10% the feedback, so that I can let fade out the loop more or less quickly, depending how many presses I do. And then if I want to stop the feedback process, I just can hold the foot switch, and this will set back my feedback to 100%, so that the loop stay like it is. Then you already saw a part of that. On the right foot switch, I have a fade, stop, and a wheel play. So it means when I kick this, the loop fade out and stops, red LED, and when I push it again, the loop made a volume start to play and made a volume wheel. Then on the center foot switch, if I do an overdub layer, the center foot switch press, I can undo that layer and go back many levels of undo. And then last but not least, on the right foot switch, if I hold this one, I delete everything on that chosen loop. And this is also important. Why did I set the delete? And all my delete are related to an old action. I did that because I want this to be really a fail-safe action, so that by any means, by accident, I can delete my loops while performing. So I really have to push and hold that foot switch to delete everything. Then also on the center foot switch, normally loop 1 is the master clock source loop, so depending on the length of the loop I can synchronize loop 2, etc., etc. But on the center foot switch at the moment, if I go to loop 2, I create a small void loop. Now I can hold center foot switch, and these send a master source clock message to loop 2, and loop 2 becomes the master, so that I can go back to loop 1 and track it create loop 1 in sync with loop 2 and not loop 1 to loop 2. So now I clean everything like this. Okay, then I go up. Go up is now it's bank 2, and this is the first bank of manipulation. And here I have few different things. So we'll redo another loop, something more drony now. Okay, first on the left foot switch I have the stretch on the press and the shrink on the hold. Here with a tiny twist. If I press, I can stretch the loop. And to shrink the loop, I programmed it that when I hold the foot switch and as soon as I release the foot switch, the shrink command is sent to the looper. So that this way I can really precisely kick in the shrink function. Then on the center foot switch I have also here on the press I have this, I call it Octave Down. Octave Down, what is? It's a combination of shrink plus the octave lower octave down from the Mellotron set of commands, so that I can pitch down the loop while maintaining the same length. Whereas if I would apply the half speed, I would have the loop an octave lower but double the length and slower. And then if I repress this foot switch, I can set back the octave to the original one. Now comes the funny part. To do this octave up, what I do is use the two MIDI notes. The original note, which send back the pitch of the loop to the original pitch, plus the stretch. And this is the funny part why I did like that, is because by combining stretch and shrink, you have always some degradation of the loop and the audio content of the loop. I know it's not pure, this method, but I wanted it because I like how LP2 by combining these two functions can degrade the loop. And then also on the center foot switch, also here I have an hold function, hold with release, and this is the slow scramble, so that I can chop or randomly rearrange my loop. Then further on the right foot switch I have this so-called erase rec. Erase rec, when I push the button, sends out a erase plus a rec, so that with a push of a button I can delay the loop and instantly start record something new. Plus on this bottom also here, you never know, could be handy, I have, when I hold the foot switch and then as soon as I release it, I delete everything. So on that chosen loop. Okay, then I do another drony thingy. Then we go one bank up, two bank free. Oops, one too much. To bank free. Bank free, here I have a further set of effects which I can apply to the loop, and these are related to feedback. Cool thing of the Morningstar is that you have this wave generator, which I like to call this as MIDI LFOs. And now I created, actually it's like the same, but one, it's a sinus generator which is applied to the feedback, and it's done so that when I tap the foot switch I give a tempo to my LFO to control the feedback, and to stop this feedback, LFO feedback, I can, when I hold the button, then I send out the command to stop the engine and the generator and set back the feedback to 100%. And on the far right foot switch I have this other function which is the same, but instead of using a sinus generator I have the new random generator, also here with tap tempo possibility. And it's cool because I also tap a different tempo during the performance to change, move up everything. And also here's a system with the old to close the feedback and set it back to 100%. Center foot switch is also something very cool and useful. It's so-called undo scroll. Cool thing, I can program the MC3 so that when I press a foot switch and hold it, it will send out a ricochet of MIDI messages. And with this one, I send out undo messages, one after the other, until I release the foot switch. It's also so programmed that I can also kick in a normal undo by just pressing once, but also if I continuously stay on the foot switch, I can then restore the loop back to its original starting point. For example, now I did some manipulation in Bang 2, and now with the unscroll I can set it back to the original status where it was before. Then we go backwards to the other side, and now we are in bank. We are in bank 30. 30 here I have few things. First on first on the sorry. Okay, first on the right foot switch, on the press I have to double. The double so that I can double the length of the loop. Oops, sorry. Can double, and I combine the double with a play so that when I double a loop I'm in rec, it quickly goes into play. Then on the center foot switch I have, if I just create a small void loop on loop 2, I have a stop all and replay all on the press, and on the hold I decided to put a fade out for all the loops plus as wheel in for all the loops as well. Right foot switch, if I am too busy with loop 1 and 2, I decided that by holding the foot switch I can access to loop 3 in case I would need a third loop to do something else and to unload the loop 1 and loop 2. Then on the left foot switch here I have this thingy which is called cross dubbing. It's like a ping pong between loop 1 and loop 2, which allows me to create evolving textures. The idea behind is that when I record one loop I set a lower feedback so that the previous content will fade out, and when I'm happy with that loop, then with one click of a switch I can go to loop 2 and do the same process. And every time I click the switch I can go back and forth between loop 1 and loop 2. And when I'm happy with this process, then I can just hold the foot switch and this will set back the feedback on both loops to 100%. And then last and least, upsalas, I have preset 29, whereas at the moment in preset 29 still work in progress, because here what I have is on the center foot switch, if I hold it, on the press I have nothing, but on the hold I have a delete all function, so that I can delete every loop inside the looper. Then I record quickly something. On the far right foot switch, then instead I have here unquantized replace. So that I can do this. Andrea La Fosse. Hey, thank you guys, great videos. This kind of stuff. And on the left foot switch with a press I could access loop 3, and that's it. So as you see, for me it's quite simple, bare bones. I mean, I also tried and programmed even more complex functions on the MC3 lately, but anyhow I decided to stick to really to the basic for my live setup, also because most of my complicated, there is this video about looping madness with the LP2, where really I tried some crazy stuff with the MC3. But anyhow, in the end I decided to just stick with the common normal functions, because anyhow, I mean, it's I can anyhow recreate these complicated textures anyhow by combining these simple pieces together. And in general, I mean, I always like it more to have to use simple stuff to create really intricate textures. Like, for example, I like a lot to combine together different delays or reverbs instead of, for example, and simple ones, instead of, for example, having one pedal, one tricky pony, which is only dedicated to that very kind particular of stuff. I really never. An example, if you know the pedal, it's the Red Panda particle. Got once, friend once gave it to me to try out. Cool, but not my piece of cake. And it was really to focus it on that kind of stuff, and I really like more to use simpler stuff, simpler pedal, and combine these together to then create my own sounds. And so this is the way that's my philosophy, how I create my vocabulary, my sound vocabulary, and my soundscape. So it's not so complicated, but it's more, for me it's more interesting to combine together simple stuff to then create this all this sound and these textures. And the LP2 was really, with all this manipulation, was really it gave me a new palette of sounds to think about. And also with the MIDI controller I can really expand what this unit can already do very well by itself alone. Okay, I thank you very much for tuning in and for watching this video to the end, and I wish you a lovely day, period, time, and see you next time, and take care. Bye.